The situation in Ferguson, Missouri is igniting the debate about military tactics. This after a week's worth of violent and destructive protests in the streets. The violence and looting is bringing out police in riot gear who are forcing people off the streets and arresting some of them. Now the Missouri State Police has taken over security in the troubled city, but even they last night fired tear gas and smoke at protesters to try to gain control. And now many are saying the police have become militarized and are using excessive force. This is our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter. You can use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us in our newsroom again is our legal analyst Chris Tritico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. All right, guys, do you think that this kind of policing is effective, or would you consider it to be excessive force?
Well, it was apparently excessive force that started this problem, and now trying to get the problem under control, we have this debate going on about whether or not the police should be using the type of force they're using. The problem that you see here is the governor steps in and says, you know, the people of Ferguson need to calm down, so let's put a curfew in. So let's be more harsh on this situation. It kind of fueled the fire. What I hate to see happen is what started out a protest about what the people believe to be excessive force by the police turn into rioting and looting. And that's when the government has to step in and say, we can't have this happening, so let's stop this, Jackie Bally. And that's really fueling the fire and creating the greater police presence.
Well, they have to be militarized, because you can see from the footage that the residents are really taken over, and they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They're using this as an excuse to terrorize their business owners and to raid their
own neighbors.
Their own neighbors. So something has to be done, and unfortunately that has to be done. A lot of reports are saying, though, unfortunately, having the state police and the local officers there, they're not being very effective. So even though they need to be there and need to be militarized, they're still not being effective, because you can tell by looking at the footage that the residents are still getting away with a lot of things that they shouldn't be getting away with.
There's a lot of people who understand the anger that comes out of a situation like this. And Mustafa, I want to ask you about this. The Amnesty International's Deputy Executive Director, Margaret Hong, said the people of Ferguson should not have their rights further restricted. It's hard to build trust when the governor won't meet with the community members and restricts their movements with a curfew.
If you look at the sequence of events, it wasn't the community going into grocery store, the footage that you saw, and breaking in, that brought this militarized police action. It was the militarized police action that further exacerbated the situation. When people feel like that their rights aren't being heard, that their kids are being shot without due course of any kind of law. This police officer's name was not released. They were protecting the police officer, didn't want to give his name out in public, but at the same time, so no one knew if there was any justice that was taking place, if there was any fair investigation. When the community comes out to protest peacefully, they start seeing people, the pictures that we see from overseas. And this issue of militarized police force is happening around the country. Department of Homeland Security is giving out millions of dollars of grant money for police to buy this equipment. And when they feel like that they can use it, they go out there in a very untrained fashion, and they provoke the community in some sense.
All right, let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Yeah, we want to get in some comments from some of our viewers this morning. Jimmy says the duty of any law enforcement is to protect, defend law-abiding citizens. The future Mrs. Morrow says that people should be ashamed for acting this way. And then Sherry says she's just so stunned by all of this, she can't sleep. Have we gone back to the 60s?
Well, I hope not. I didn't like the hairstyle back then.
Yeah, I'm not doing an afro.
You know, the idea that the police are over-militarized, I think, is when we see situations like this, we start talking about it. They have to have the military-style training. But what they need at the same time is training on how and when to appropriately and effectively use that training.
There's frustration in the community because of the shooting, yes. That is the one statement I do agree with my colleague. However, for them to react in the way that they're reacting, for them to be as violent as they are towards their own neighbors, towards their business owners, the way that they're looting their businesses. No, that is not the reaction to the emotion that they're feeling for this young man being shot.
What about that? Had they just taken to the streets and protested without looting and robbing this guy's store twice in 2 days, would they be in the same situation?
Their kids are being gunned down in the street, and there seems to be not a process of justice that they're getting. This is not just the first incident. This is the first incident that we around the country are talking about, but this community has felt this for decades. There's bent-up frustration on this. There's lack of trust from the police and investigators. And rather than to try to go into the community and build trust and have a transparent process of investigation, the police officer's name was not released. The comment that the police chief made after the shooting, rather than trying to calm things down, but instead he said things like, this person was under investigation for some other crime, and later on it came out that the officer that had shot him had no idea about this. This is what makes people angry, and rather than trying to send tear gas into the crowd and having curfews, if the governor would meet with people, it would be good.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We'll be back in just a little bit. We're going to talk about Governor Rick Perry's indictment Friday.